Thank you so much for meeting with us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Awesome. So let's jump right in. Do you mind giving me some background on your education, your student loan debt journey, etc.?
Yeah, so I went to school. I went to undergrad at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm from DC, so and it would have like initially cost me like out of state tuition. And that's kind of what I was paying like my first year. So I had scholarships, but they didn't cover the total cost. And I had grants, but they didn't cover the total cost. So I did take out some loans initially, but I realized that because I was eligible for the GI Bill,
Mhm.
that somehow that at that school it qualified me to pay in-state tuition. So I did get reimbursed. Um, and for the remaining years, I didn't have to pay the total cost of out-of-state tuition. So that's why like my undergrad debt isn't I got reimbursed much later. And sorry, another thought had popped into my head, like why do I still have loans when I was reimbursed? Because I got reimbursed later and I just used the money towards something else. And when I finished school, it wasn't that big of an issue to me. And I realized that it actually opened up like a line of credit, which helped
Ooh,
me to like finance like my first car and stuff like that. So and because it hasn't been a big deal, like it's really fairly, I feel like fairly cheap compared to what I always hear others have to pay, like just a little over $100 a month. And because it's my longest line of credit, I just decided to like not quickly pay them off.
right.
Um, but and right now with things having been with the loans having been like pushed off, the interest on them anyway. I would pay down because I took out federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans.
Okay.
So I did put more money towards the unsubsidized loans because they grew interest sooner. But again, it hasn't. It's kind of I feel like it's kind of been beneficial for me as far as starting and building credit. So that's why I've kept it. But my concern with student debt is like not pursuing my further like a graduate degree
Okay.
as a result of like the idea that I could be going in tens of thousands, if not over $100,000 of debt.
Yeah. Wow. And if that risk wasn't there, what advanced degree would you be pursuing?
I would definitely have my master's by now if that wasn't um if that risk and the fear of that um wasn't there. I probably would be on my way to getting a doctorate, honestly, because
Mm.
I already know what I want to pursue. I have to explore a little bit more, but I would definitely have my master's.
If you don't mind going into like what your interests are, what your career trajectory is.
So yeah, I'm an educator. Um, in undergrad, I studied history. I have a real passion for history and Black studies, even though that's not what I concentrated on in undergrad. It's just always been a personal interest.
Mhm.
Most recently, I've looked into like a dual program for like African diaspora studies and like museum studies. Um, but I feel like I ultimately want to get my doctorate in African American, African diaspora studies.
Mm.
Um, and not necessarily to be an educator in the traditional sense, but to maybe take like untraditional measures to do that. Like I have like ambitions to create like interactive history timelines and
Nice. Oh,
maybe like if with museum studies I would have like the knowledge to incorporate museum education. But yeah, I would be on that somewhat trajectory, I think.
I see. That's really cool. I was in one of my majors in undergrad was African American Studies. I love AFAM. It was great. So that's really cool. Respect. And I guess my question to you is I know that you said you would have pursued your advanced degrees by now, but outside of that educational scope, when it comes to your personal life, what other goals would you have achieved, or are you achieving all of them? Is it infringing on your personal goals is my question. Like family.
Outside of the, like, including career, like outside of that too.
Including career, yeah, but like family planning, wealth building.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that impact. People aren't eager. For me personally, I don't necessarily want to have a family. Like, I don't want children, but if by chance, you know, so, like, I were put in a situation, like, for example, maybe I always think about how I wouldn't really be as prepared, or I'm not as prepared to like support my nieces in a way that I would like, because I just feel like I could do more and be at a different higher place. Like if I had went and got a graduate degree, especially now, I'm I'm in a transition period.
Okay.
I'm try to change like career paths. This is like my second attempt at it.
Okay.
And it's really hard, like to
Wow. What are you trying to transition into?
yeah, so I'm trying to transition into like I did transition out of the classroom
Okay.
to an administrative role, but I'm thinking about transitioning out of schools in general and doing something like museum work or something that's more cultural and community oriented.
Curator?
Maybe like a curator or a museum educator or
I see.
something else, but my resume is so heavy and like only what I've been doing, and I don't have a degree or like much training in something else, so
Right.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I would have like a lot more flexibility and like really feel like I'm doing more of what I want to do, if I didn't have that fear of going into debt to get my graduate degree.
I see. And when you were, let me start with this question. Are you a first generation, second generation, third generation college student?
I am first generation.
You're first generation. So when you were growing up, what messages were you fed through school, through your parents about taking out student loans? Or were you given any messages at all?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't get that type of information from family.
Okay.
I was in like an after school program. I kind of got like like that was kind of honestly my first, maybe I was around 10 ish. And that was kind of like the first time I had heard anything. I probably was a little older, I can't remember, but that was kind of like the first time in an after school program, like I even heard of any financial advice. Um,
Okay.
I remember specifically hearing like, don't go to college and, or, don't turn 18 and then get a credit card. So I was making sure like I stayed away from credit cards. Like until I didn't get my first credit card until I was maybe 20. I was definitely after I graduated. So maybe 21, 22. Because I just felt like, okay, in my head, I could be more responsible. And I have been, it's been very helpful to have waited and I tried to do something like that in college. But no, there was really nobody in my home or in family to give me like advice as far as, taking out loans to pay for school. I heard it. And then when I got older, my college counselor, he's like, don't, or I think between media and school, I heard, don't take out loans are bad, loans are bad, loans are bad. And then I kind of learned a little bit different between subsidized, unsubsidized, and private and stuff like, and grants and like more options to pay for college,
Right.
which was really helpful. But yeah, that definitely came from like either me searching for it or in primarily school.
In primarily school. I see. And that's a common trend I've noticed throughout my interviews with other women. I've conducted maybe over like 20 or 30 interviews now. And almost everyone that is first generation has said, my parents didn't mention really anything about student loans to me. I interviewed one woman and she told me that her mom said, like, oh, you'll get a scholarship, you'll get a scholarship. and she got to college, she was like, oh, where's my scholarship? Like, she had no idea there was an application and like, a vetting process, and she didn't know. And I'm like, is it miscommunication? It's just like an amalgamation of a lot of things, but I think most importantly, it's just the fact that Black women like are just so disenfranchised, because we get these terrible interest rates, right? And then that's compounded with the need for us to get more degrees. Like, I'm listening to you talk right now, and maybe you would agree, maybe you wouldn't. I'm sure you would. I imagine the average white male counterpart to you and your resume and your credentials would own a museum, would be the museum's lead curator. You know what I mean? I'm listening to what you want to pursue, and you seem so qualified, but inside your head, like, oh, I need more, right?
I definitely feel fortunate to have been in the positions that I've been in. People like trusted me and, wanted to support and help out. But I know firsthand that white male counterparts can step into a role and make. I had a colleague who was probably about middle, somewhat I was in a middle management role at the school.
Okay.
He didn't necessarily have direct reports, but he had a team that he really kind of gave orders to. But anyway, he was making more than like the assistant principal. So it was, it's just like very interesting.
Wow.
Like, and these are both two, graduate degree earners. Like, and so yeah, like it's really beyond frustrating. It's
yeah, I would
devastating to think about. Like, I hate hearing that. I hate hearing that. I try to put on, fake it till you make it. I try to like walk around with that audacity and that confidence, but it's, no, between being young and really I think honest and not you just what you bring, what you look forward to and how you're hoping to grow. I don't really know if people want to hear that from me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you think that if you were to have the same credentials that man you described had, do you think you would be given that opportunity as well? Like, and my question also is, what state are you in right now? Are you in the DMV or are you in Texas still?
I'm back in DC.
You're in DC. Oh, I love DC. So nice. But do you think that would ring true? Like, just hypothetically speaking, from your perspective.
I think I'll probably be a more well-connected person, honestly. So more opportunities will probably come my way.
Right. Yeah. I was speaking to one woman who has, this morning I spoke to her. She has a BA, two masters, and she has an MBA, an MPP or an MPA, and a JD, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she worked with someone, a white man, who only had like a JD and was like sitting in the same room as her. And she was like, and I got all of these degrees because I knew that in order for me to sit in this room with him and like represent myself, represent my clientele, like I had to have this many degrees. And I'm just sitting there looking at her like, this woman's so accomplished, so intelligent, but it doesn't matter, you know? And like, she's so fortunate to have gotten funding for 3/4 of her degrees, but that's not the case for most women. That's just simply not the case. It's just, but I say all that to say it's just really disappointing, and I'm right there with you. And also, I want to get your opinion and thoughts on President Biden. I'm not going to call it a failure. I'm going to say it's his lack of alacrity to cancel or erase $50,000 of federal student loan debt. Because he said he was going to do that on the campaign trail. A lot of Black women are student loan bearers, and we really got him into office, and now he's pedaled away from that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't trust politicians to keep their promises.
Yeah, I understand.
So and it's really unfortunate. I think like in terms of when in terms of offending like different populations, Black women are like the first group that somebody will really disregard, and there would not be as much of a backlash. So it's like disappointing, but it's also like expected, unfortunately. And yeah, we're definitely a group that like, I mean, being like the most educated group, being the group that has built the most businesses, like obviously there's a lot to invest in terms of like Black women and their education and their endeavors, but it's really hard to find those avenues. So it might be great, honestly, like if they could be a circle of us, because I know like money tends to come like after you get accepted in terms of like getting a graduate degree. I guess my issue, you know, I could apply and, you know, I can initially say I'm going to take out loans for it. But then like on the way get scholarships and stuff. But having some like a network that has information on how to go about doing that will be really helpful. Because really at the end of the day, I mean, we can only trust to look after our own. And I think that could be really helpful versus, you know, dependent on a politician or somebody outside of us and our experience to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Very well said. However, it's just from, I don't know if you share the same frustrations. Also, when you said that what he did was expected, literally everyone has answered the same way. And I'm like, man, Black women are abused. This is terrible.
Really, it
Especially
is.
because Black women really got him into office. I think, if I remember correctly, the statistic was 96% of Black women voted for him and Kamala Harris. So it's the highest in any demographic, you know? And it's just like, man, like getting a Black and in Indian woman in office like isn't enough. You know what I mean? I think he felt like he met our quota for like helping us out in our community. I don't know. It's just
It really is. It really is. Like it's beyond frustrating. It's terrible, but that's really how our system works. Like in terms of like oppression, systematic oppression in the US, like we bear the brunt. We bear the heavier load because people care less.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. Yeah, and when you said like the backlash that people give others when like Black women are being hurt, it just doesn't ring as loudly at all. You know, so I think that's another reason why, you know, are you following the latest politics on the moratorium and the cancellation of the student loan debts? So they extended it until January 31st of next year. And I have a right, yeah, exactly. And I almost feel like they're doing that to sway everyone's attention away from his promise to cancel. You know, it's like, oh, well, we're extending it. Like, oh, you know, we're doing that much. And hey,
you know, that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense as a theory.
Yeah, I think it's very distracting, but you know, it is what it is. But that's why we're here at 1,000 Women Strong, really focusing on trying to, you know, mobilize and organize to make him live up to his words and cancel $50,000 of federal student loan debt. So that's why.
Would these interviews kind of go towards that campaign?
It is, yes. So our campaign right now, we're in partnership with the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and we are putting these interviews on our platform, all of them, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, on our website, and it just helps increase awareness and helps get our message out. I'll send you the link. And also, I was gonna follow up with everyone I've interviewed in a couple weeks, but I'll tell you right now, we're gonna send you guys a shirt and a thank you card as well for your time.
Oh,
so nice. Thank you so much. Thank you. And before we close out, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Other than my proposal for us as a collective to kind of tackle these issues together, I think that'd be really a really great push forward. A lot of people, don't know what to do, or they have like skills and ideas and experiences to share. Everybody can gain something. I think that would be, I don't know what that looks like what that platform looks like.
Yeah, no,
but
absolutely right.
I think that would be kind of really nice. Like personally, I know I didn't mention this earlier, it's like one of my pursuits or what have you, but I'm at a space where if I can't do like that cultural outside of school work, that I really want to be in schools, like helping kids find like scholarships and like helping them find them and helping them like receive scholarships for college. And I done like a lot of looking into that over the summer. So it's just those kind of like initiatives, those steps that I think will really be helpful in really not derailing like these situations, but definitely like attacking doing so in a way that's very, intentional, like for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also sounds like you're breaking the generational curse, because a lot of our children just don't know, like, why were we going to repeat this mistake? So that's really a good idea. That's really smart.
But like it's funny you say like we don't want our children to repeat like these mistakes, because I feel like they're always going to change. Like, and what I mean by that is what a college degree used to cost, and what you used to receive because of it is just totally different. It costs way much to get a degree that's going to give you entry level and not really like that much money. So we are always adapting and like making it work, and are kind of forced to be in survival mode. And I hate to sound so pessimistic, because our efforts aren't in vain, but it's like they're always trying to make stuff against, like put it against us, all of our hard work and what have you. So yes, while we'll make these improvements, we'll have to adjust because they're gonna add more barriers.
They will, but that's how we keep the fight up,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I appreciate the work of your organization, and
I appreciate what you're doing too. Thank you so much. And I will be in contact with you, and I'll also make sure to send you like our petition and our link and stuff so you can sign the petition.
Wonderful. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Alicia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.